Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on the Show Me the Way podcast, I had what can only be described as a miracle conversation with my guest, Carla Haun. Carla was introduced to me by one of my biggest supporters and frequent guest connectors, Christine Spradlin, who knew Carla carried an incredibly special and inspirational story that needed to be shared. In 2020, Carla was diagnosed with COVID, and it hit her hard. Her condition quickly worsened, leading to hospitalization, sepsis, and multiple strokes. She became one of the first COVID patients to be placed on ECMO, a life support machine used to help her lungs function, and spent many days in a coma. Carla bravely shares the terrifying reality of her experience, how many times she truly believed she was going to die, the unimaginable pain of having to say goodbye to her family on more than one occasion, and the emotional toll of fighting for her life. She recounts seeing the light and being reminded by God that she still had work to do in this life, especially as a mother. That moment fueled her determination to fight her way out of the coma, survive without ECMO, and move forward with her life. Having this conversation at all feels surreal, as Carla firmly believes it is nothing short of a miracle that she is alive today. She also speaks beautifully about the importance of community, her family and friends who stood by her like family, and reminds us all of the power of faith, positivity, and perseverance. This episode is a powerful reminder to never give up, even in our darkest days, and to lean on the people who love us when we need them most. An episode full of faith, resilience, and hope. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. Today is a very special interview with a close friend of, my best referrer partner, Christine Spradlin. Not only has she been a guest, but she's also introduced me to quite a few additional guests as well. I'm honored to call her my friend, and I love how she supports this podcast. Please be sure it's a little plug. Go listen to her compelling and important story, season 2, episode 6. But today's guest is Carla Haun, and she's joined by Christine, my number one supporter. Carla wasn't entirely sure this was something she wanted to do, but Christine strongly believed she would not only be a perfect guest for the show, but the experience would be really good for her own mental health. Carla has been through a lot of health issues, things stemmed from COVID. She has so much that she can share with us, and she has certainly had her share of challenging times that she recognized she needed to navigate. We're all going to learn from Carla, and I'm looking forward to getting to know her and her story with you all as my listeners. So welcome to the show, Carla. Thank you for taking the time to share with us.
Thank you for having me. I am I am very excited to do this.
Good. I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear
I
that.
am.
Good. Well, before we jump into your story or whatever is on your heart, why don't you tell our listeners and me a little bit more about you, where you're from, your family, whatever you want to share.
Um, I am from Michigan, in Belleville, and I have 3 kids. And I have a fiance of 30 years. We're not really in the whole marriage type, so we just leave it at that. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. My life lives revolves around my kids. Like I am all
Yeah.
about my kids, always have been, and um I just do everything for my family.
Well, that's wonderful. So 3 kids, boys, girls, ages, if you don't mind sharing.
Okay, so technically actually there's 4 cuz I have a stepson. And he is about to be 33. And then our first is Jada, and she is 23, right?
Same age as Christine's son. Is that what you're
I
looking at?
know. It's just like the numbers get hard for me after a while.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm. And then my son Jesse just turned 21 this week, and my youngest turned 17. I can't believe that. They're amazing kids. The oldest, Jamal, my stepson, he just graduated and he's going to be off and doing great things. My daughter is a teacher. And Jesse is at Wayne State going to college and playing football, and Jamil's in high school.
Perfect. Yeah. It's really fun to have moms, especially you said your world revolves around your kids. So hearing you talk about them and seeing your smile, that just fills my heart. So love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah. And I'm in Michigan too, obviously. And we had a lot of snow yesterday. So
Yes,
it's a
we did.
good
We
day
had a
to be
snow
home.
day today. That was great.
Yeah. So it was a bonus. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know that it's hard sometimes when you think, oh, I'm going to share my story, but I have heard from many guests, surprisingly to me, this wasn't the original expectation, but they'll say it was like a therapy session to talk and just get it out. So I think it's great. And I think there's so many people that will listen to your story and say, wow, I understand that, or that makes me have hope, or whatever. There's always somebody out there that can really get impact. And if one person listens and get something out of this, then that's a bonus. So I appreciate that. And I think I said a little bit to you about the Show Me the Way podcast, but I'll just share again with you and my listeners that the reason I started this, and we're on season 2, I started with season 1 because my son Nathan, who is now 16, when he was 5 years old, he was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So that is a progressive muscle wasting disease. Right now, he's full time in a wheelchair. Every day is a challenge. We actually, on my last podcast, I just spoke myself and talked about a recent issue that we had. Every single day, I feel like I'm accepting a new challenge and pivoting and trying to understand what's next. And when I was younger, I didn't really deal with a lot of adversity. I have 2 married parents, I have sisters, like things just kind of moved forward like typical, like you would expect. I got married to my college sweetheart and we've been married for almost 25 years and it just seemed like everything was fine, following the path that I expected. And when my son was 5 and we got this diagnosis, one that I had never heard of before, it rocked my world, as you can imagine. And all of a sudden I thought, okay, so this is what it's like when people go through adversity. And you can totally get down in the dumps and give up, or you can say, what is our new normal? Which I don't love saying that, but the new
Oh, it's
path. What
true.
it's true. Yeah. What does it look like? What are we going to do? And gaining perspective. And it just really changed how I went about life in a positive way. I mean, there's obviously good and bad days, but I definitely started thinking about things differently and I love to talk. You should hear Christine and I on the phone. But
Oh, I can imagine.
so I thought, let's do this podcast. Let's just get out there and I'll share my story, my son's story, and then I will bring on other guests because everybody has something to talk about. And you'll go more of a medical route, so I'll be able to kind of relate more on that approach. But we've had people talk about everything from jobs to moving. Christine shared about her house fire. We've had people talk about medical diagnoses for themselves or their children. We've talked about grief, all kinds of different things. And it's really just morphed into even more than I ever expected. So having you here means a lot. And again, there's no script. You can just speak what's on your heart. You don't have to talk about anything you don't want to talk about, but we're really appreciative that you're going to share your story. And I know people are going to learn.
Well, I know it's important to share my story. That is one thing I have been trying to do, at least like with people that I know, because I do have a message and I feel like this is what I am supposed to be doing. So that is why truly I am doing this.
Well, I appreciate that because I do have a strong faith, and that's a big part of it that, like, yeah, you need to spread the message. So it takes a lot of,
Exactly. My
yes,
testimony.
yes, your testimony. It takes a lot of courage, but thank you. And so with that, I'm just going to let you speak again, whatever is on your heart. If you want to go back and tell the whole historical story of exactly what you went through, or if you just want to share any thoughts, the floor is yours. I am going to stop speaking.
Okay. I guess I'm going to go back and just like tell the story. Otherwise, it really won't make sense of where I'm
Okay.
at right now. In November of November 16th of 2020, I got COVID. Well, that's the first diagnosis on my first hospital trip. And that was before the vaccine was out. That's when it was, really bad and the hospitals were swamped. They sent me home with COVID induced pneumonia, and they gave me meds. And on the 18th, right, like really late at night, technically then it went into the 19th, I had to go back in, and my pulse ox was so low. I knew I was going to be staying because it was like low 70s. So I was getting ready to go to the hospital. And this is important to the end of the story. But before I left, my son, Jesse, was like, "Ma, you really got to go to the hospital?" And I said, yeah, baby, I got to go. And of course, at that time, they were worried because people were going into the hospitals and they weren't coming back out at that time. So then he said, "Are you coming back?" And I said, "Yes." And he looked at me and I said, "Baby, it's going to keep a lot more than COVID to keep me away from you. I promise I'll be back." And I gave him a kiss on his forehead and he was like, "Okay." And part of me was like, "Why did you promise that? Because what if I don't?" But I said, "Okay." So we went to the hospital, and literally on the way to the hospital, I am sending Gil like screenshots of their doctors' numbers and whatnot because the kids were sick too. Um, and he had never contacted a doctor. Like, I am a very traditional stay-at-home mom. I take care of all that stuff. So he would have no idea who to call or any of those things. So I'm thinking, just in case, I need to screenshot all of this to him. And I end up having to stay right away. They were like, "You are not going home. So whoever you have outside," because he was in the parking lot, "you can have him go home because there's no way we can let you out." And I expected it. I was hoping against it, but I totally expected it. I knew medically where I was at. So yeah, I ended up getting admitted into the hospital. And at first, like, I really thought, okay, it's not a big deal. I'm going to get in here, I'm going to get all the meds, and I'm going to be out. It was obviously like the 19th by that time. And my son's birthday is on the 28th. And then Thanksgiving was right around the same time. And all I wanted to do was get home. Like, I wanted to be home for Jamil's birthday. I wanted to be home for Thanksgiving, but mostly his birthday. Like, oh my gosh. But I kept getting worse, and everything was like everything was going downhill so fast. And then I was on CPAP. I mean, I felt like I had been hit by 14 trains, and I could barely even roll over by myself. It was nuts. And to hear all the code blues going off around me, there were so many.
And you're
And
by yourself, right? Nobody
I
you
was
can't
by
have
myself.
visitors. Yeah. Mhm.
Nobody could come in. And towards the end, I could barely really even, I couldn't speak on the phone that much because I always had a mask on for oxygen or a CPAP or whatever. I would text a little bit, but that was getting hard too. I was constantly exhausted just to like even talk. Um, I think once I texted Christine at 7 in the morning, and I am not a morning person. So she like called me, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, is it 7 a.m.?" Like, I thought it
Uh-huh.
was 7 p.m. Like, I had no idea what was going on at all. And I just started getting worse. So then they put me on BiPAP. And I actually, on BiPAP, had the most insanely scary experience of my life because they had taken me off of it for just a little bit and did put me back on CPAP. And all of a sudden, all my numbers dropped. So they're quickly putting me back onto BiPAP. And they put, which is like a big oxygen mask,
Oh, right.
basically.
My son has one of those, and it's basically breathing for you, so
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
because it straps onto your face like with a suction cup. And when they did that, the settings were really high, so it was forcing in oxygen so fast that I literally felt like I was drowning in too much oxygen.
Wow.
And of course, there was no one in my room. I couldn't find my call button, because the nurses would come in, do what they had to do, and they would like sprint for the door. They were just getting out of there, and I could not find a way to. I couldn't think of a way to like get them. So finally, I just started tearing all of my cords off. So they came in.
Everything's beeping.
Everything's beeping. They're looking at me, and I'm like, I'm drowning. Like, fix the setting. So they did, and then they gave me something to calm down. And let's just say after that, all I could think of is, I need to get out of here. It was devastating to be in there. I'm going to say probably the next day, my doctor came to see me. Um, and I've been seeing my doctor for like a good 20 years since I moved here. And she had to fight tooth and nail to get in to see me. But she told them, that is my patient of 20 years. I can put on PPE just like you can. She has rights to that hospital anyway. They gave her a hard time, but she got in there. And she came in, and I saw her, and I started to cry. It was just like finally seeing a human that cared about me, that touched me like on my arm, and it knew me because I was so alone in there. It was amazing. And she said, no, no more crying. You're not going to cry because you are strong. You are strong. You can do this. So you're not going to cry. Now you're going to get better. She said, they keep telling me that you won't let them put you on the ventilator. And I'm like, no. Because everybody's telling me, don't go on the vent. Don't go on the vent. You're not going to come off. Because very few, very, very few people were coming off. So finally she's like, you need to be on it. You have to be on it or you're going to die. If you don't let them put you on it, you're going to die for sure. So you might as well give it a chance. So I finally said, okay, I'll do it. And from that minute, it's like everything was on hyperspeed. Everything happened so fast. All kinds of nurses were coming in and getting me prepped, and all this equipment was being brought into the room. It was really fast. And then they said, where's your iPad? We're gonna get you on the phone with your family so you can say goodbye. Mm.
Oh, that is so hard.
So yeah, it was that was the worst moment of my life.
I can only imagine.
And to make it so bad, I couldn't talk because I still had a mask on my face. So all I could do is wave. And it was heartbreaking. And you never think like, what would I do if I knew I was dying? Because let's be real, I didn't really think my odds were very great, but I prayed. I prayed. Also, a few days before that, my kids, their test results came back and they had COVID. Now, they have really bad asthma. Well, I mean, I did as a kid, so this is probably why I was having such a bad reaction with this. But they have asthma and also a bleeding disorder. So I was so worried about them getting it. So I also said to God and prayed so many times, God, give it all to me. Give me everything. Give me all the COVID and let them be okay. Let them not be affected in any way. Give it all to me because I can take it. But but I but I can't have them sick, really sick and not be there. So give it all to me. And he did. Girl, he gave it all to me. He listened.
Were they okay? They didn't have to go to the hospital.
No, they ended up being okay. My daughter had some after effects, but nothing serious at all. So I got put on the vent. It was like December 1st,
Okay.
1st or 2nd. Yeah. So there's my timeline on that. Then I was not doing well on it at all. So they decided they were going to try to see if I could go somewhere to be put on ECMO. And I don't know if you know what ECMO is. ECMO is like the last ditch uh, effort machine. It's
Machine,
almost
yeah,
like a heart and lung
for
bypass
your
machine.
heart. Yeah, okay, for
Yeah.
your heart and
So
your lungs. Okay.
yeah. So what it did is they put cannulas, basically tubes, into your veins and arteries, and you have to go through a surgery for this because I had 4 lines, and they take the lines and they literally suture them to your body. So if like I have a scar right on my shoulder, chest area, but then it can't move, right? Because if it comes out, you're dead. They suture it to your body, like like down your arm, down your leg. There's a lot of suturing going on for like a good foot down your body. It takes all the bad blood out, the blood that doesn't have any oxygen, and it goes through a machine and it cleans the blood and then reoxygenates it and then through the other tubes puts it back in your body.
And you had to be transferred to a different hospital for this?
I had to be med flighted to Henry Ford, Detroit. They're the ones that took me.
At the time, Henry Ford and U of M were the only two hospitals around that were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And U of M couldn't get her in.
Actually, I don't even think they were taking COVID patients.
They were booked. They were like completely full because they only had very few machines, and Henry Ford was the only place they had an opening. And this was new that they were using for COVID because they used to just use it for heart bypass
or bad accidents or babies.
Yeah, and so this was a new thing that they were trying it for COVID, for lung bypass.
And I'm sure they didn't want to transfer many patients either, so that was unique as well.
You know, there was a whole system that you had to kind of pass, like a checklist. I was young enough. I didn't have a whole bunch of comorbidities. I didn't have like diabetes or high blood pressure or any of those things, except for being a little curvy.
But yeah, if you had any of those things going on or you were an elderly patient, it wouldn't have happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So they ended up med flighting me, thank God. And thank you, Henry Ford, Detroit, because they saved me. I think it was December 4th that they got there. I think the same night they put me on ECMO, and obviously I don't remember any of this. I don't remember the fun helicopter ride. After I said goodbye to everybody, I don't remember anything at all. What ended up happening is I ended up being septic. I had ARDS, which is like acute respiratory.
Like dysfunction or something.
Yeah. Anyway, it was like my lungs were shutting down. So I had that from the pneumonia. I had a PE. I had like I was septic. They were just fighting to keep me alive. Bed sores. Also, I went into kidney failure for 5 days. The doctor told my dad that my lungs were like old tires. They were like thick and they weren't flexible or anything. So that's why they were doing the ECMO, but they were still using the vent just to try to exercise my lungs. But they were just really fighting me being septic. That was the big thing for a while. I would have great days. And then, boom, I would have a terrible night or a terrible day. And my family ended up being called in at least 4 times to say
Like
goodbye.
thinking this is it. Okay. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. It's a miracle that we're talking right now. This is
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, they were at my bedside though for every hour that they could be there, every visiting hour. Because I was at the end of life unit, they would let 2 people in for the day, and that was it. So I had a revolving group of people that were coming in. It was like my mom, my dad, Gil, the kids, and Christine.
So Christine, I was just going to say, because I know she said she was there for a lot of it. So obviously she was one of your very close friends long before this time.
Oh yeah, she is my
Yeah.
bestie.
Okay. Okay. So she was able to come in too. Okay.
Yep, and her and my friend Leticia. If there was a visiting hour, there was somebody there. And while I did not remember hearing words, which other people on like my different ECMO pages or coma pages, like that I follow on Facebook, some of them remember everything that was said around them or bits and pieces of what was said around them. And I want to tell people this because if you have somebody that's in the hospital, don't let them say anything negative around that patient. You stay on top of those nurses and you don't let them say anything at all. Everybody should be telling you something good.
This
They
is
should,
advocacy at its core. Like you need people to advocate for you, even with the words that the medical staff says.
yes,
Yeah. I
yes.
appreciate that. Hmm.
One of the things also, when she was on ECMO, when we were allowed to go visit, we weren't allowed to touch her um, because of the cannulas. Because if she moved or you bumped her, whatever, it could kill her if they became undone. Every 15 minutes, a nurse came around. There's 2 nurses that were with her at all times. And every 15 minutes, one would come with a flashlight and they would basically have to go and retrace every line to make sure that the blood was flowing through the cannulas. Because if not, I mean, she'd be dead. So,
Or making sure that there wasn't clots in parts of the cannulas.
yeah.
Because that happens, all the little crevices and whatnot from the machine. But they did get allowed to put a moisturizer on my hands.
Some of us are a little persistent.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's the little things. It's the little things. Like
Yeah.
you
She was,
needed that. You were dehydrated. Your body just wasn't functioning as
her feet
normal.
were
So
ashy, her hands were
yeah.
ashy.
Yeah.
I wasn't having any part of that. And
So
so I spent
again,
with her.
having someone to take care of those details is critical.
Yes. Yeah. So they put lotion on my feet and my hands for me. I mean, besties right there, right?
Well, it's just amazing what people will step up and do, especially when, and again, I'm going to let you keep talking, but I keep talking about community and your tribe and finding your people. And the people that put the lotion on your feet and your hands, those are your people.
Right. Right. Those are the ones that matter. Those are your ride or dies. Those are who you should be worried about when you're back to living. You know what I mean? Also, I will say that when I said goodbye previously on the iPad, you really realize what's important and who you think about. If you don't think about somebody in that time frame, then they're not really that important. So they should not really affect your life. I'm talking about catty arguments or what is somebody going to think about me? Who cares? Because in the end, you're not going to think about them on your deathbed.
Yeah, it's a priority. Like you really
Yes.
are forced to prioritize those that are your friends that are family and your family at that time.
Yes.
Life has a funny way of reminding us that we can't plan for everything, but we can prepare for what matters most. That's why I'm so thankful for today's sponsor, Tammy Brown Insurance Agency. Tammy and her team don't just sell policies, they build relationships. Whether you're protecting your home, your car, or your family's future, Tammy takes the time to really listen and find coverage that fits your life. As a mom, a homeowner, and a Michigander, I love knowing that I've got someone local in my corner who actually cares, not just about my insurance, but about my peace of mind. So if you've been putting off checking your coverage, take this as your sign. Call Tammy Brown Insurance Agency or visit the Tammy Brown Agency Facebook page and tell them the Show Me the Way podcast sent you. Because when life takes a turn, it helps to have someone who can show you the way back to security. So you have people taking care of you, but we're still unsure.
I'm still in the coma.
Yeah, so it's still like, am I going to make it or not? And you
Yes.
said, obviously, if you're in the coma, you don't remember anything, but people were taking care of you this whole time.
And the one thing I just wanted to add, when I got to see her twice, the first time was on my birthday, and the second time I spent Christmas Eve with her. And the first time I was there, because everyone's still learning about ECMO at this point, it was kind of new to the COVID world and to her family and to us. And the doctor came in while I was there, and I pulled him out into the hallway because I knew that, when you're in a coma, that you don't want to say too much in front of them because they can hear in most
They
cases.
can hear, right?
And I said, look, I'm like, what is the chances that she's making it out of here? And he looked at me and he said, we haven't had one yet. She's got about a 3% chance.
Did you share that with her family or did you keep that to yourself?
I think I kept it to myself for a bit just because I was trying to process that.
At that point, nobody at Henry Ford had come off ECMO because of COVID.
Got it,
For
right.
other
It was
things,
used
yes.
for other things, right.
But, they were still at that point, still learning what medications worked, what didn't. At this point, too, right before that, my mom had my last rites given to me. My daughter and her were there, and they had my last rites given to me. Now, my mom had told me, yes, it's for, basically if you're about to die, right? But it can also be a blessing. She's always told me that. So I got that blessing. And then on Christmas Day in the evening, I ended up having strokes. So I had a stroke and it went to both sides of my brain. They didn't know if I was going to be paralyzed. They thought I would be paralyzed on my left side. That's what they really thought, was total paralysis on my left side at the very least. I will say, though, that before this, although I don't remember hearing words, I remember feelings. Like, I think I remember feeling something when, like when probably her and Tish were rubbing my hands. I remember sometimes feeling so good. One time I was having really, like, my vitals were going all over the place. And Jada, my daughter, she just took her finger and she started rubbing my hand with her finger and talking to me really sweetly and like whispering to me. And just like that, my vitals all went down.
Because they put the fear of God in you. Do not touch her.
No pictures. Which Christine did not listen to that.
Christine and I talked a little bit about it, I guess, to follow the journey, to understand the journey, to document the journey. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that she wouldn't want to be reminded, but I knew that she would want to know what she'd been through because she was, as we call her, taking her nap while the rest of us were living it.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while before I shared them with her.
You shared them with me at RIM. Yep.
At RIM, what is
RIM
that?
is the Rehabilitation Institute of Michigan, which was the inpatient physical therapy place that I went through. So like I was saying, I do remember feeling things. And what I know, when my dad and Jesse came in for the first time, or one day where they were trying to lower myself a little bit, I tried to get up out of the bed to hug Jesse, or my arms went up. There were days that I would cry. I remember pain, a lot of pain. I was so tired. So I had the strokes, but then since I had the strokes, they had to take me off ECMO because they could not. they found out I had a little hole in my heart. So, and that's why it went through. And they couldn't risk me being on ECMO anymore, with all the lines and everything, for having another stroke that would have been worse. So they had to take me off of ECMO. And the minute they did that, they wouldn't allow any more visitors, because I had to be moved to a different part. But basically, once I was off of ECMO, it was like, well, we'll see how she does. Basically, and then everybody thought, well, okay, she's gonna die because she doesn't have ECMO doing these things for her anymore. And I believe at this time I saw the light.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I swear over the last 10 minutes as you've been talking, I was like, I want to ask her about that. I can't believe you just said that. You talked a little bit about faith. I mean, this is not a podcast dedicated to faith or to your beliefs, but I am a strong believer and I keep trying to grow in my faith. So almost every episode, especially when someone's going through the trauma that you did, I'm always curious about where that ties in. And you talked about praying. And then as you're talking about having these feels, I'm thinking, did you ever see that side? Did you ever feel that this is it? This is where I'm going. The next
Yes,
phase of my soul is here.
yes, yes, absolutely. Um, I saw the light. One thing you should know is there's a lot of hallucinations and dreams anytime you're in a coma.
So that's
Any
typical for anyone in a coma.
anybody in a coma is probably having bad dreams. Anybody in a coma is having terrible hallucinations. And that's why you also have to keep a person's surrounding in the hospital very calm, because the hallucinations draw off of what's going on around you. It's like all your worst nightmares, right? And like even me being restrained, I had to be restrained, like when I was waking up, when they were trying to wake me up a little bit. So then I dreamt I was kidnapped. Back to, I saw the light. And I was almost like, it almost looked like I was in a morgue. But it was dark, and then I saw a light. I told God, I just want to go to sleep. I'm tired. I hurt. I can't do this anymore. It's too much. And he said, you know what's going to happen if you go to sleep? And I said, yeah, I was going to die. I knew. So, do you really want to go to sleep? And I'm like, but the light looks so good. The light was warm. The light looked like almost like a little shimmering portal. It was the perfect temperature, like a perfect day on a beach. It was just so wonderful that, like, you wanted to go there. Paradise. And really, I mean, that's heaven, right? So yeah, it's paradise. I was like, oh, this looks good because I am in pain. Let me go there. And God said, but do you remember what you told Jesse? And I said, oh. And it's almost like he replayed it in my mind. I promise you, it'll take more than COVID to keep me away from you guys. And it was like he rewound it in my mind like a video. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Like you have business you still need to
Yep.
take care of. This is not it.
Mm-hmm. So he said, are you going to go to sleep? And I said, no, nope, I can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep. So he's like, well, then you have to get up and you have to fight. And I literally like get up off the floor. And in like some bad movie, I like dust my legs off. But I mean, it took everything to get up off the floor. And I said, okay, I'm going to fight. And I did. I fought. Like all of a sudden, just like that, I started doing so much better. And I had just gotten off of ECMO, right? So they thought I was a goner. And all of a sudden, I start breathing a little bit more so they could turn down the vent a little bit more. And every day I started, getting better and better and better.
How much longer were you in the hospital then after this point?
Well, on January 6th, I woke up out of my coma. That wasn't too far from Christmas Day. Mhm. And it took them a while to get me out of the coma because, you have the hallucinations. I tried to escape. I actually got out of some of my restraints and flipped over the bed and some kind of crazy thing. I went kind of crazy on the nurses because I thought somebody had kidnapped my children and I was restrained. But by January 6th, all of a sudden, I wake up and I remember the nurses telling me, do you know where you are? And I'm like, not really. And then they told me, hey, you've been in a coma. This is what's happened. You're at Henry Ford Hospital.
I remember she went to sleep.
I went to sleep. Yeah,
Right.
I
You're
went to
like,
sleep
where
in a
am
different
I?
hospital. Now I'm in
Right.
Henry Ford. And then it's January 6th, 2021.
Yeah.
Yep, because I went to sleep in 2020.
Right. So is your family, are people starting to find hope again? Are they starting to think,
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
all right.
I mean, even before that, because all of a sudden I wasn't needing all that much oxygen. So everybody was like, "Oh," and so they told them, "Hey, we're waking her up. We're trying to wake her up."
We're turning a corner here.
Yes.
Very fast. It was like a flip switched, and every day it was like improvement, 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 and you're like, is it for real? Is
That's
it just a
incredible.
good day?
And
Or
and to me, I correlate that with my seeing the light, talking to God. Yeah, that was a miracle. I should not be alive medically. I should not be alive. The doctors gave no hope at that point. And I know it was because God came to me, because God talked to me. He knew I had more to do. He knew. Um, so, yeah, it was a miracle. Just like that. Some doctors don't tend to believe in miracles all that often, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, even they said it was purely a miracle.
Well, I don't want to stop you from telling your story, but I do have a couple things I want to ask about before we before we get past, and I want to respect your time. So, you're out of the coma January 6th. About how much longer until you were able to leave the hospital?
Okay, I am going to move forward quickly, but I have to say this. It was January 6th, 2021, and the TV was on in my room. And I see everybody attacking the Capitol on that day. And I'm getting out of my coma and seeing this. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm trying to write on a whiteboard and I was like, are my kids okay? Are we? And then I put war with a question mark. Like it was just the weirdest thing to wake up to.
Right. Yeah, exactly, and you have no idea. You've been taking a nap for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I got
yeah.
to then, um, for the first time, FaceTime my kids and Gail and my mom and dad. So they were. I mean, it was emotional. It wasn't. I was still out of it. Like they had to. They put you on a lot of drugs. you know. Yeah. So it was very emotional. I still couldn't have anybody there. I got out of that hospital a little while later. I had to be moved to an inpatient facility because I had to learn how to walk again. Okay. I had to learn how to use my left side again. It wasn't completely paralyzed, but I don't have as much feeling on my left side. And I also had a drop foot. I mean, I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to do everything again. Just because I was in a coma for so long that your muscles just have no strength whatsoever. They say it takes like at least 3 to 6 days to gain back the strength for each day that you were in the coma. So, I get to that. Before I had to move to RIM, I gotta say, like, all the interns would round on me. People would start coming by my room and looking and peeking in, and my nurse, and I'm like, why are there so many people like
Staring.
It was really weird. I mean, like groups of doctors, and they're
But
like,
they had
oh,
never seen anything like this. So
exactly. They were calling me the miracle on the ward. That's what they were calling me. So they just wanted to see, and when they would round on me, they would just sit there and smile, and it was amazing because it helped them as well.
Mm.
Um, so then I had to go to RIM, the most amazing rehab place ever. They told me it was going to take me 3 to 4 weeks of inpatient therapy to get out. Mind you, I could see everybody, 2 people at a time there, everybody but my youngest son. You were supposed to be 18 or older. Well, actually, my middle son wasn't 18, but he's big. So
Close enough.
they snuck him in, and my husband's big. So they were like, "Are you sure you're 18?" And my husband's like, "Yeah, he's 18."
They're like, okay, we believe you.
Okay, well, like, but go on through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I couldn't see my youngest. And I hadn't seen, I mean, that's a long time. And
That's a
he
really
at
long
that point
time.
wasn't doing well. He wasn't eating. And let me tell you, in my house, that means something. Okay. If you're not eating in my house, you're sick. There's something wrong with you. So he was really having a hard time. So I told them at RIM, I can't be in here that long if I can't see him.
That was a motivator.
Yeah. So I said, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I'm getting out in 2 weeks. And they looked at me. They're like, well, we really think that you need that. And if you have sign out AMA, you could hurt yourself. I said, no, no, no. You don't understand. I am going to work so hard to get out of here that you're going to let me go in 2 weeks. You're going to say, okay. And they
Hey,
were looking at
if I
me,
were them, I would have believed you. You are already a miracle. What's one more miracle?
right? Right. So I worked my butt off. I cried. I worked so hard. And Christine came in. She visited me. And don't you know that girl? Don't you know she gave me a pedicure
Of course she did. She
On the
knows the little
hospital
things
floor,
are
mind you.
important.
on the hospital floor, giving me
Wow.
a pedicure, having a
Yeah.
pedicure. So there she is giving me a pedicure.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
and like you said before, the ones who show up,
Mhm.
you know, the ones who show up, those are the ones that are important. And let's just say then I kept busting my butt in there like you would not believe. It was emotional. It was I feel like I should have been in a Rocky movie. You
So
know what I mean?
let's hear it. Was it 2 weeks? Did you get out in 2 weeks?
Well, the nurse came in and said, "I'm going to let you out on this date." And it was 15 days away.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I started I I started crying. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "It was supposed to be 14."
14. I
And
would
I
think
was
one day past that's pretty darn good.
exactly, exactly.
Wow.
But I was so mad that I didn't hit my mark.
No,
But
that's a pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. From an outsider listening, it's a pretty amazing story.
yeah, so I got out February 4th.
That's a lot of things to happen, and when you look back during the time, I'm sure it felt like it was forever, but listening now, that is not a very long period of time for all of that stuff to happen. Wow.
Yeah, it was 89 days in total that I was gone. And then I got to go home, and I finally got to see my youngest in the van when I left the hospital. Gil brought the big conversion van and he had everybody in it. He had my mom and dad and all the kids. And it was like the best day of my life.
Wow. There's a couple things that I want to touch on. I'm blown away, and I do understand why it was so important to share that story. And I know there's so much more that you could tell us. We might have to have a
Yes,
part two, but
we might.
but there's a couple things. One is I keep thinking as you're speaking, just listening to the motherhood and the connection you have with your children and how important the children are, and the understanding that you have more to give to them, and they still need their mom, and the positive words that had to be spoken. Those two things remind me so much of me and my children, so I'm relating a lot to that, and especially as Christine knows, and I alluded to, I just went through a really tough time with my younger son, and
Mhm.
I told myself today that I'm going to stop the tough love thing because it's not working. And so you've really motivated me to keep the positivity going as much as I possibly can, because it's very easy to let frustrations fill in and to start calm, but then start getting crazy and say, no, you got to
Uh,
do this and you got to do that. And it's going to be like this, or the worst is going to happen. And
mm,
I do usually tell my friends and family and those around me that positivity is so important. So you've
it is.
greatly inspired me to take that with me for the rest of this little journey we're currently on. I should say
Okay.
we're on a journey the rest of our lives, but
Yes.
this little
This phase.
this phase, yes. So I thank you for that. And I always say that the guests that I have on and the days that we interview, the days that we record, it's very timely. And you went back and forth with me quite a few times trying to find a date, and then the last thing you said was, "Thanks for being patient with me." And I think God wanted us to speak today. So I'm just gonna put that out there. So thank you.
I believe that.
I
There's
believe it
always a
for sure.
reason, right? There's
Yes.
always a reason.
Yes. So thank you for that. And I really, really appreciated everything you said about the village and the tribe and the people that took care of you, your best friend giving you a pedicure, your fiance being sure that he had everybody there when you were ready to go home, the nurses, the caregivers, all of those people that were part of your
They are
tribe.
angels.
Yeah. And
Just
I,
let
I
me
think
say that.
I think that's awesome, and I'm really glad that you shared about that because, like I said, that's been an important thing that my guests continue to go back to. I love all of that. Thinking about those things and thinking about everything you went through, and obviously it's hard to wrap it all up, but if you could give people advice from your perspective and from these things that you recognize being a mom, having your tribe, going through all this difficulty, what could you leave with our listeners?
First and foremost, I give it all up to God. Miracles happen. I didn't think they really did. And I thought, me of all people, I would never deserve a miracle. They wouldn't happen to me. Never in my life. I even barely even prayed for myself before this. I prayed for everybody else. So I just want people to know that He is real. God is good all the time. And miracles happen, so don't give up. Um, and then like you said, the people that weren't there for all this, or that weren't a part of my prayer groups, like I have extended family, they weren't there for all of this, but they prayed. I had people all over the world actually praying. So it's real. That's all I'm going to say. For me, it's real. For what happened to me, it was real. So I hope that if I can touch one person in their faith, or if they were on the fence, or if their faith was lacking for some reason, because it can go up and down, right? He's real, and he can do great things. So that's the first thing. And then anybody that was praying for me, those are the people that matter. Little things don't matter. Little things do not matter. If you are not going to worry about this in 20 years, or if if you found out tomorrow that you only had a month to live, if those aren't the things you're going to worry about, don't worry about them now. And just be positive. People need love so much. People suffer. And if we can just love each other, that's it. That is it. Just that's it.
Well, Carla, I'm going to just say that again. It was so timely that you were here with me and with Christine today. I'm sure my listeners needed to hear all of that, but I am telling you selfishly, I needed to hear all of that today. You're really, really hitting me. I keep alluding to that it's been a rough week, a rough time, a rough phase, as you said. And I'm not the strongest at the moment. And I thought I still got to do these podcasts. My goal is to be consistent with them. And I really wanted to have you on. But deep down, I'm thinking, gosh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to do this today. But you showed me that I needed to. And we have to keep finding positivity. And I keep thinking to myself, and Christine knows this. I'm a cheerleader. I'm on here. I'm trying to be a therapist for other people. I'm like, yeah, be positive. Like, you never know what tomorrow brings. And I say all of these things. And then over the past few days, I've struggled with that. Like, am I not being truthful because I'm not even following the things I tell other people? But
You're being
sometimes we
human.
just have our days. We're human. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you almost spun things around to show me,
Mhm.
and you really reminded me that you can't give up, and that's what I tell everybody else. So I
Mhm.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing that. And I know it wasn't easy to share the difficult story, and especially since Christine had to remind you of things. You weren't there the whole time, you know? So
Exactly.
to be able to go back and share all of that difficult time with us. And you said, I'm not sure if I'm going to get it all right, but you did a great job sharing. I really do think that people are going to relate. Not that they went through what you went through, but
Yeah.
just going through adversity, going through challenges, and just understanding that miracles are real. God is real, and our
Yes.
tribe is there. We have to remember that. And and also from Christine's perspective, when our best friend or somebody that we love is going through this, sometimes you do have to drop other things that are going on so that you can be there for them. So that's a true testament to her character as well, and your families.
Mhm.
And I admire both of you. I'm so grateful that you are here. And it was a miracle conversation, that's for sure. So I appreciate you telling your story. You're right. If one person can relate or one person can say, "Oh, she taught me not to give up," then that means the world to me, and that's why I'm trying to do this podcast. So I appreciate you so much. Again, I'm sure we could have a whole nother episode and you could keep telling us how things have been. It's been 5 years, so there's a
Yeah, I
lot
could
more
tell
that you
you
could
a
share.
part 2 about everything that's happened since then.
Yeah, we might have to do that. There's a few guests on here. I'm like, part 2, we need to hear how things are going, but I will say hearing you laugh, seeing you smile, your children are still growing and going strong, and that's a true
Mhm.
testament as well. And so I just pray that things continue to move in the right direction and you keep changing lives, because I do believe that's why God said, "Don't go to sleep. You've got more to do."
Thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much for having me. And I will light a candle for you and
thank
pray
you.
for
Thank
you
you.
and your family and you and your son because
Thank you.
that is what I do now all the time.
Well,
I
I
mean, I
appreciate
did it
that.
before, but
No, I
it was
appreciate it. I
so
didn't want to make this
now.
about me and what we're going through, but I just, again, just have to highlight God's timing.
Oh yeah, of course. There's always a reason. I
Yeah.
believe that now. So,
Yes.
yes.
Me too.
Well, God bless you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Keep on keeping on and teaching everybody with everything that you're doing. Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review, as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.